Hi lovely people, I'm Poppy and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. You might know me as poppysreads from Instagram, which is where I share all my sort of book themed content. I share book reviews, book recommendations. I also love to spam everybody with my almond croissants pretty much every morning. It's an addiction, not gonna lie. Anyway, I've been wanting to start a booktube account for so long, but I've been too scared, a bit intimidated. So I've decided today is the day that I take the plunge and I come and join you guys. So I thought I'd start things off with a quick little video just going through my top 5 favourite reads so far this year, so you can get an idea of what my reading tastes are like. If you like this video, it would mean so much to me if you give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, that would be great. If you have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see from me, please leave them in the comments. I'm up for suggestions, obviously I'm brand new to this. Without further ado, let's get on to the video. So this first book actually won the Women's Prize last year, and it is of course Piranesi, or Piranesi, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, by Susanna Clarke. Piranesi lives in the house, perhaps he always has. Then messages begin to appear, scratched out in chalk on the pavements. There is someone new in the house, but who are they and what do they want? This book is amazing. It's like nothing I've ever read. It's so enigmatic and mysterious. I don't really want to say too much about the book just because I personally went in completely blind and I feel like that was the best way to experience it. Things unravel as you read and it's really amazing to experience that not knowing what to expect. So the premise of this one is that Piranesi is in what is called the house, which is basically this big Greek kind of palace mansion type thing, which is kind of like a labyrinth of columns, and it's flooded with water, and it doesn't tell you who he is or how he got there because actually the character himself doesn't remember and doesn't know. And he is trying to work that out. He's trying to work out what his purpose is in the house, and that's kind of where we start off. I'm just gonna leave it there because you kind of want the story to take you the rest of the way. It's just such a journey. If you have the patience to sit through quite a long time of not really understanding what's going on, then you'll love this book. If you don't have that patience, then you will just get frustrated. But personally, I loved it. For most of the book, it was, I have no clue what the hell's going on, but I'm just here and enjoying myself anyway. I loved it. Next up is actually a debut novel by Caleb Azumah Nelson, and it is Open Water. Two young people meet at a pub in southeast London. Both are Black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggled to belong. Both are now artists, he a photographer, she a dancer, trying to make their mark in a city that by turns celebrates and rejects them. Tentatively, tenderly, they fall in love, but two people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. This is one of my all-time favourite reads, and I know that it's one that I will keep going back to and will keep recommending to people over and over again. It's poetic and lyrical and tender and touching, and it teaches you so much about masculinity. Black men are really not able to be vulnerable a lot of the time, and the impacts that has on their relationships, and it's so delicately written that it just really pulls at your heartstrings. He wrote this in second person, which for that to be a stylistic choice you make for a debut novel, that's very impressive. It's a very brave decision. Every single line in this book is just so perfectly written, not a word is wasted. If I was going through and annotating, I just want to highlight every single line because it's just so beautiful. So it's only 160 pages or so, and every single page is a work of art. Unbelievable that this is a debut novel, and I'm so excited to see what else Caleb comes out with. Wonderful. I highly recommend. Next up is one that is a little bit strange, and that is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. As a child, Natsuki believed she was an alien, a different species to her Earthling family and classmates. She hoped a spaceship would come down and take her home. Now she lives quietly in an asexual marriage, pretending to be normal. So I loved Convenience Store Woman. I've got it down here actually. Look at this cover and you would think this looks like a cute, quirky book, quite lighthearted. And actually it was. It had a darkness to it, but it was kind of subtle. It wasn't too blatant. Now, you might think the same looking at this one, seeing as there's a cuddly toy on the front cover and it's still quite cute with the polka dots. No, this book has horrors hidden beneath the cover. It's so shocking, so dark, disturbing and weird, but I absolutely adored it. I would really recommend checking the trigger warnings. In the front it does have some, it says child abuse, violence, incest. I'd also say cannibalism as well. That's a recipe for a great book for me, but for some people that might be quite triggering, so just make sure that you check before reading it. It's a really interesting look at society and societal norms and childhood trauma and how that impacts you growing up in society where everything's very regimented, what the experience can be like for people who don't feel like they fit into certain categories or they don't fulfill society's purpose. There's two cousins, Natsuki and Yu, and they both think they're aliens. When they're kids, you kind of think maybe it's just a childhood fantasy, but they still believe it when they're adults. It leads them to do some interesting and not great things. A provocative, strange, shocking, dark, disturbing read. On the topic of strange and disturbing books, next up is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. This is translated from the Spanish. I believe she's an Argentinian author. If everyone was eating human meat, would you? Marcos is in the business of slaughtering humans, only no one calls them that. He works with numbers, consignments, processing. One day he's given a specimen of the finest quality. He leaves her tied up in an outhouse, a problem to be disposed of later. And this is a dystopia where all the animals have been infected with a virus, which means that they're no longer able to eat animals. So what the government proposes is legalizing cannibalism. They basically repurpose all of these old slaughterhouses for human meat. It's graphic, it's disturbing, it's very dark, it's disgusting and really horrible, but also compelling. It's like staring at something really, really horrible and you're just not able to look away. Really, really thought-provoking. You know, you think about factory farming and animals and how we treat them and how different are they to humans. It's very, very gut-churning and graphic, so if you do struggle with things like that, please don't bother with this. It's pretty full-on. But if you've got a sturdy stomach and you like reading this kind of thing that makes you think, then I do highly recommend. It is a very good book. The ending was so unexpected for me. I did not expect that ending and it really stayed with me for a long time afterwards. So I just kind of left reeling. I've discussed it with quite a lot of people afterwards and I think that's a common thing that everyone was like, whoa, by the ending. Really recommend this one if you enjoy dystopian books that are graphic and nasty and you don't mind a little bit of horror. And last but most definitely not least is one I just read the other day, which is Almond by Won-pyung Sohn. Yunjai was born with a brain condition called alexithymia, which makes it hard for him to feel emotions like fear or anger. He does not have friends, but his devoted mother and grandmother provide him with a safe and contented life. But everything changes when a shocking act of random violence shatters his world, leaving him alone and on his own. I was surprised by this one, that it was actually really heartwarming and tender and sweet. And I don't know why, but I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be quite dark. It deals with dark themes of things like violence and child abuse and child neglect. The main character can't feel emotions. That's a kind of interesting concept. It's actually such a lovely exploration of friendship and how our upbringing impacts us later in life and our relationships and how much our biology actually has an impact. So obviously this child, Yunjai, who's the main character, he has this brain condition where he can't feel emotions, but his friend doesn't have this and can feel emotions but has been brought up in a neglectful household. Can you kind of create your own life for yourself despite your beginnings in life? I loved this book. I thought it was really sweet, really lovely, and I would really recommend. So those were my top 5 books of 2022 so far. I'm really excited to read some more. I've got so many books on my TBR waiting for me. These are definitely in my top tier of my favourite books. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a like if you did enjoy it, and make sure you subscribe if you want to see more like this. Any suggestions would be more than welcome for future videos, so please leave a comment down below letting me know what sort of things you want to see on this channel. Obviously, I'm completely brand new to this. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. I hope you all have a great day. Love you! Bye!